Excellent.
Kick us off.
I'll start. My name's Eric Brunker. I'm with a company called Myridius. We have partnered with AWS to help develop and help modernize and transform scouting to utilize some of the great things that AI can do. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. A little bit about Myridius is we've been a partner. Scouting has been a partner, a client of ours for 16 years. So a lot of the applications that I'm sure you are familiar with, we've had some work done in the past to help that, and now we're working to help transform that. And with that, AI becomes responsibility. So, Star Wars, but a Marvel fan with Spider-Man with great power comes great responsibility, and that's what we're really trying to drive for here. So I'm here with my partner, Paul, from AWS. Paul, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Paul Mietz Egli. I'm a specialist solutions architect for data and AI at AWS. It's a long title, but what it really means is that I work with nonprofits like Scouting and other charities, membership organizations, and public utilities and credit unions to help understand and explain what's happening in AI and machine learning today, and also in data and analytics as well. So if you don't know anything about Amazon Web Services, we were spun off from Amazon about 20 years ago to essentially commoditize the software and hardware that we were building to make Amazon.com. Our CEO at the time said, hey, it's a great idea. We've built up all of this infrastructure. Let's see if it can be of use to other people. And it is, of course, a large proportion of the sites, websites, and the services and mobile apps that you use today run on AWS, including places like Netflix and large international banks and large government organizations. So working with nonprofits every day, I see the need for the leverage that AI is going to give you, the way that it's going to help transform your ability to deliver to your scouts, to your constituents, to the parents, to your volunteers. But I also see my customers wondering, how am I going to make sure that this unknown, this big black box, is going to keep our data safe and that it's going to give us the outputs that we need and the outputs that are accurate. So that's what Eric and I wanted to talk to you today about, is some of the ways to think about using AI and how to look at it with a critical lens and make sure that you're using it in a way that protects your scouts and your constituents.
Thank you. That's great, Paul. Can we fun? So you have the controller. You want to?
Yeah, you want to?
All right.
It's your section.
It's
so
my
I'll
section.
Give it to you.
Okay. So all of you, I bet, have used ChatGPT, Siri, Alexa, Claude, Gemini, Grok, hopefully not Grok.
Copilot.
Copilot, yeah. Okay. And so have you thought about the actually implications, some of the safety things associated to it? Hopefully so, because you're here. So one of the things we're going to do today is we're going to talk, like Paul said, of what you can do, but really how do we trust that, especially with our kids and our scouts. And something that I think is really important for you to know is we take very seriously, Paul and I do, and we talk with scouting quite often about how we put the right information in to things like Scoutly and to other AI solutions that we're working with, but make sure we safeguard the youth. The scouts are the most important piece to this, and we want to make sure that we're providing them the technology for them to advance, but we're doing so in a world where they can gain positive information that is trustworthy and follows the scouting mission. So that is the goal of this conversation. So as I think I've already heard from you all, you know that AI isn't the future. AI is already here. All right. And if you don't know you're using AI, you are using AI. We can tell you all the ways you are using AI, even if you don't. But what we do is it's already here in scouting. We have Scoutly, which some of you have heard of from what Glenn said. We launched this in 2025. I'll talk more about Scoutly, but basically a lot of people see it as a chatbot that sits on scouting.org. It's a lot more than that. We'll tell you about the power of where it's going and how it's going to get there. AI Merit Badge. How did we know that we have an AI merit badge now? Excellent. There's also a cybersecurity one, right? So when I sat down with Garfield Murden and talked about, what you need from a merit badge environments, we talked about the AI piece. We talked about cybersecurity. We talked about the fact that scouts these days, my kid and I am tech, are more technically enabled than we are as adults. So how can we start providing the same level of knowledge that has an interest level to them based off what they're doing? So we did an AI merit badge, and then we are working towards predictive AI. So much of what I've heard the last day and a half and what I've known from working with scouting for 2 years now is a ton of data, but the data is everywhere. Data is not necessarily accessible. Don't know where to go. It's in multiple systems. It's hard to get to, right? What we want to get to is we want to get to a point where we're consolidating data. And you've probably heard Mike talk about that. You might have heard some others talk about it in the sessions. Because what we want to get to is we're providing not just the data, but predictive AI with that data. And so that over all of the councils have the ability to leverage and utilize the AI to grow their business. With Scoutly, by the way, I will mention that we've already seen a 45% spike in web traffic just because of the use of Scoutly that's in there and the fact that it's got the AI. So it's definitely bringing some great things to the organization. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what can AI do for you. We're going to talk about safe AI. Is anybody familiar with the scouting acronym SAFE? S-A-F-E. S-A-F-E. Yeah, it's
I hope that's all the hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Paul's going to go into more of that. We talk about how we've applied that to Scoutly and other AI. I'll tell you a little bit more about Scoutly and where it's going, so you have an idea from an AI perspective and how we're applying ethical pieces to that, and then what councils should think about. I've talked to a lot of councils since I've been here, and they have ideas, and we'd love to get more ideas from you on how this is going on. And then we'll address any questions. Sound good? Think I can keep you awake? All right, here we go.
And
Okay.
please, this is pretty open.
Yeah.
Both Eric and I we're not going to run this on a rail. Please interrupt us, or if you have a question or if something comes up in your mind, let us know.
Yeah, I love to hear myself talk, but I actually would rather hear you guys.
Share your deck at the end.
Sure.
Yeah. Of
I
course.
think all the decks, well, and there's also a QR code that you can go to and get the deck from there. So one of the reasons why I wanted to understand who you are is we've seen 5 personas within scouting. There is the council executives, the national volunteers, the council volunteer leaders, the unit level leaders, and the scouts and families. So I wanted to have an understanding how to help you because the way that AI can be used by the different personas is different. So let's start with council executives. So membership growth and retention. I was talking about with another scout executive earlier from New England, and he was talking about the need to actually understand the tenure they have. Where do they see the drop off? They have, when 6-year-olds go, enter the org, where are they dropping out? How are they moving on to Scouts BSA? How are they matriculating? How can we use that to help flag families that are at risk of dropping out? Obviously, if we can say, okay, well, if they don't come to 3 meetings, then they're probably dropping out. Or if they're not getting these badges, they're probably dropping out. But how are we really tracking that? At every meeting, is somebody actually getting the data to say that that's... So what we want to do is help build the tool sets to do that so we can grab that data and then we can let at the executive level, here's what's happening in your business. Here's what's going on from a retention standpoint. Here's where you can make decisions based off the data. Fundraising and donor engagement. Less time segmenting the lists and more time using AI to pick out the patterns of who the best donors are. Who should we really address? Instead of taking a list of, I don't know how many, you guys probably could tell me, let's narrow it down. And then use AI to help say, what is the message associated to this donor? So
how much should we ask for, right?
How
often should we ask for it? Should we ask for recurring donations or one time? Do they have a donor advised fund? Sorry.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. And then operational reporting. Taking all that information, you heard about the data lake earlier, and you might have had one of my peers, Nick, go through a little bit of what they're doing from a data lake perspective, is basically consolidating all that data that comes from Blackbot and Scoutbook and Scout Connect and My.Scouting and all of those pieces, bring it in under one data environment to allow you to do reporting off of. but not just do reporting, do it in a way that you can provide semantic conversation directly with that. So that you don't have to be a power user to know how to use a data environment, a data lake, and be a data science. You can ask a question, how many new scouts joined in Q1? Or which districts have the highest volunteer ratio? And the data is provided to you. And then you can prompt down. The great thing about that is from Scout executive down to the den parent, we probably won't give access to them, unit level, they can be self-service on what they gather and learn data about. So that's where we're going. And then member care desk automation. So help utilize AI to triage issues, route them to the right people so that the members can get the information they need, address the issues as quickly as they can.
Yeah. What else? I mean, what other ideas do you have from the executive level? Like access to data is a big one, but also being able to build models or reports from that data. What else do you need?
I went too fast. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. You're going the wrong way.
I'm going the wrong. How do they know where I'm going? What movie is that from?
I don't know. Did it lose it?
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's where
All
that's
right,
from.
we're going to hardware.
All right, going to the hardware. There we go. Any other ideas of where AI could apply for you?
Or where are you using it now already? Where do you go to ChatGPT to help you with your day-to-day job, for example?
We're using it a ton for writing and communications pieces. One of the things, just real specific use, we want to create a golf camp program at our summer camp, partner with a local country club. Ping is based where we live, as well as PXG. I needed a week-long sort of document that sort of laid out what this program would look like in an executive summary. So I went into chat, I uploaded NCAP and Guide to Safe Scouting, the Merit Badge book, the advancement guidelines, and I said, hey, I just kind of said a lot of what I just said to you. Create a week-long schedule, make sure we match every requirement, and then 27 seconds later, I had something that was 95% perfect. Some light editing, and I said, create a one-page executive summary I can take to potential funders in the golf industry.
And you use what, ChatGPT for that?
Chat,
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a couple of things that you did really well there, actually. First of all, you provided it with a lot of context. You gave it, you said the scouting handbook and manuals, and you gave it a specific task to do. And I'll talk about both of those things in the next section about why those are important to getting good results, which you did. Yeah.
It was very useful. And so things like that, we've got a similar thing we're trying to do with a local healthcare system. We want them to adopt our health lodge. And there's a couple pieces with that. And it takes longer to gather the documents we're going to dump in than to get the output.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a big time, and that's one of the things I'll talk about is just saving time so you can. Now, you told him what he did good. Do you want me to tell him what?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, you ready? Are you okay? All right, so everything you just did was incredible. In fact, I think you're probably way ahead than a lot of it. But everything you just put in there is now open public to everybody in the world.
Everything I put in there was already public on the web.
Okay, good. Yeah. Good information.
We're very thoughtful of that.
Yes.
Probably
good.
From time to time, but I didn't put anything in that wasn't already publicly posted by BSA.
Perfect.
Good. Now the other thing though is,
I do wrong?
Well, now if you had the same thing that you could do inside the guardrails of scouting, the other scout executives in the country could have used the same information to do. So it allows to grow. And from my perspective, and you all tell me, yes, obviously you want your council to grow, but if your council grows, it could affect the growth of other councils again. And then we have the national piece.
Unless my council next door starts a golf camp and then they're competing with me.
Yeah.
And then we'll just do a tournament and see who comes out best. So, but yeah, I'm glad to hear, because when I heard all that, I was a little worried, saying, okay, well, that's public information out there. One of the big things that we're doing, and one of the reasons why Glenn was here is because there's been a lot of focus around making sure that we safeguard all of the information. So I'm glad it was already publicly available. That makes my heart feel good.
You try to go forward?
Unlearn that he has a paid account and isn't learning. I mean, are you as concerned at that point?
If it's a paid account,
yeah,
it's still out there. Yeah.
It's where it could be a little scary is if you identify the donor. It's like, research Bob Smith, CEO of Ping, and tailor this letter to well, then ChatGPT knows who your target is, and now it's going out and it's
Yeah.
searching the web and anything it can touch, public or semi-public.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that's where we get scary. You include it.
So I think that's cool. I mean, I'd love to use that case study with Mike and team, because I think that's great.
Struggle on that because we want our staff executives to start building donor case studies.
Yeah.
We can't figure out a way yet that we're not doing that, right?
Well, I think that would be the Microsoft Copilot guy.
Microsoft Copilot can definitely help with that.
Most of your
In the scouting.
CRMs, instead of the leading CRMs for fundraising, they're starting to build that in terms of their system, so they're doing the diligence on that.
Yeah.
But you have to be a council not using VSX platform. We're not
Good.
trying to hijack it.
No, that's good. You guys
Yeah.
talk yourself. That's
Yeah. Do you want to move on to National Volunteers?
yeah. I mean, with National Volunteers, I'm going to flow through these because we have.
Pressure from me on this.
Mike did warn me, say, hey, don't let them get too far off the track. National Volunteers is just another ideas of there. You've got policy and program analysis. What programs are actually working? Where are the different things that we have, and where are they working, where the policy is not effective? Benchmarking of best practices. So compare the council metrics. And then multilingual. Multilingual is a big thing. Scoutly is in 5 different languages now. So it supports that. From a membership growth perspective, we see that as something that is definitely regional, and some are more important than others, but we are applying that in that area.
What I like about there is you're thinking strategically at that level, right? As a national volunteer, you are thinking across multiple units. You're thinking about multiple years down the line, and what you need then is that data, and the data that was not available until Eric and Myridius started building this data lake. So really the power you're going to see in AI at the national level is getting access to the years and years of data that was in these different silos, but is now available to you.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm just going to roll through these. We got already mentioned some of these through the conversation, but with council volunteer leaders, you have volunteer matching and onboarding, helping you identify the volunteers that would work best within your council, within your different units, and help get them onboarded. The knowledge that is gained from the previous one is already within the AI that then can be leveraged and utilized by the next ones. Meeting prep. I use this all the time for me personally, is help build the meetings. So when you have new unit levels, you have new scoutmasters, they can use this and start to say, hey, what is the best meeting for this situation? If we have a new program, what can we do? If we're trying to plan a new camping outing, then how can we build out the right meeting plan for that that's going to be most effective? And then commissioner tours. You can flag missing tour plans, lapse training, declining attendance, basically all the stuff we talked about to make sure that you can maintain and retain membership. Unit level. We talked about program planning, advanced tracking. I know Troop Tracker is one. Ivo, is that what it is that you Troop Tracker?
Troop Tracker, Master.
Okay, Troop Master. So this is where we can start to put that information in there and begin building the best programs to help for advancement. What are the things that need to be done that are going to encourage them to provide advancement? What's the best paths associated with that? Understand where they are, what's due next, and really help build out that advancement strategy. Parent communications at unit level. They can build out, like Copilot, I think said, could probably utilize some of that, but we're building that into Scoutly. And then the safety and compliance aspects. We'll talk more about those as we go through. And then scouting families. So that's another persona. Build out that personalized scouting journey. Yes.
So on the bottom one, I have a troop with scouts with special needs, and that's what it's called now instead of disabilities. But
okay.
So we needed a form that was beyond the BSA medical form that talks specifically about specific disabilities or special needs, so that the parent could document those things, or caregiver could document those specific things about that scout. So I fed in some very basic information to Copilot, and it gave me a form for parents to fill out, how to specify each kind of the disabilities, what they can do, what they can't do, what they're allergic to. So it really supplemented the BSA medical form with more information. So
That's perfect. And I think
fantastic. Yeah.
that's the type of stuff we want to hear, because we also want to build that out to where you can do that within Scoutly or the other scouting tools. Simply because once you do that and somebody else has a similar situation, that information is already there and it's contained within the guardrails of scouting at that point.
And the fact that you're doing it is logged. We know what people are talking to Scoutly about, and we can use that information to then say, hey, maybe National needs to come up with this form that they can distribute and share with other units.
Does Scoutly do things like that?
It can anonymously log what you're conversing with it.
But
Right.
can it give me a form that way, or is it
Not
just
yet.
got
Not yet.
information?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
That's where we're taking this
Yeah.
to do. And that's where we're trying to learn, like these type of conversations, is what else could we do for it? Because at some point after you log all that information, we see enough people doing it, that might mean something to scouting to say, hey, we need to create this and have this so that we're just not recreating it from
Yeah.
there.
It's a signal of your need at the unit level. Yeah.
So we talked a lot about the AI. The common thread through all those personas that we have is the AI does not replace human connection. The AI allows you to have more information at your fingertips so that you can spend more time with the scouts. You can spend more time building the partnerships within your councils and more time earning badges. AI is not there to replace the human. It's to enable you. But we want to do that how?
Safely.
Paul? All right.
Safely. We want to do it safely. So those were our slides about sort of the art of the possible, what you might be able to do inside of scouting with generative AI and traditional AI and traditional machine learning. Now we're going to talk to you about the things that you need to be aware of in order to do this in a safe, governed, and compliant way. There's sort of three layers. I think of AI safety in sort of three layers. The first one is being the content that the AI returns to you in response to a query or some sort of action. Is that content appropriate for scouting? Does it follow your content delivery guidelines? Does it follow how you want to communicate with your members and volunteers, right? When you're using tools that are built on, like the large language models that are built on all of the huge corpuses of data that they use to create these things that seem to talk in an intelligent manner, you're getting a wide variety of input. And if you're not specific about how you're asking for the content that you want to generate, as you were saying, you were very specific about it. That's great. If you're very vague, like, hey, fix this, or hey, why did that meeting go so badly? You're going to get output from the model that is potentially inaccurate, harmful, or just completely off the wall. So that's what I mean with safe content. Then there's safe data. So AI works best when it has more data to work with and more of your own data to work with. But is the AI accessing the data in a controlled manner? Are we only giving it the data that it needs to perform the task at hand? Are we tracking what data the AI models are using to generate responses? Are we also making sure that data is kept private, that maybe there's some data like personally identifiable information? Boy, I don't know why that didn't just trip off the tongue. But you want to make sure that not only the data that the AI accesses is safe and controlled, but also what you put into it is going to be kept within your own ecosystem, within your own privacy boundaries. So the data that AI works with also needs to be safe. And then safe interactions. This is how your scouts or your users are using the AI. They're using the tool. Are they using it to create harmful content? Are they using it to try to generate things that are not in line with your values? Safe interactions are key and they're generated, they're created by making sure that you have the proper guardrails against inappropriate inputs. It's probably the best way to put it.
Couple quick things. So you mentioned the data and PII earlier. So that, as far as what we've built within scouting And Paul probably could spend, and Ivo could probably spend 3 or 4 hours explaining this to you. But we've built in all the data isolation appropriately within the data environment that's done that. And we've gone in and done PII detection and making sure we're masking it if we have that information. So as far as what we've built for scouting organization, it is in a safe data environment.
Yeah, and some of the key features of building on AWS is that your data stays within your account or set of accounts. By default, your data that is being used or stored, the data lake data that's being stored in our databases and on our storage systems is encrypted when it's stored. All the transmission of data in between the different services is also done in an encrypted manner. So you get a lot of that data safety just by being in the AWS environment. But Myridius themselves are an expert in security and are adding on extra levels of security and safety and governance. Yeah.
So, of all the other systems that are out there that you named, Claude and Microsoft Copilot, how many are those in the paid versions of those systems? Is the data safe like this, or is it just out there for anybody to see? You know,
I don't want to tell you something that is not, that I'm not 100% expert in, right? Because I don't work in those systems. I will tell you that Amazon and AWS have been clear from the start of all of our artificial intelligence and generative AI services that we never use your data to train our models. We never store your data outside of your account. And we never provide your data to any of our partners like Anthropic. You can use the Anthropic models on AWS as well as maybe a dozen or 50 other model providers. They never get your data. It always stays within your account. So my answer would be read the fine print, read the service agreement very clearly, even on the enterprise versions of these tools.
Yeah, and here's my 2 cents on this, and he has to be a little bit more careful because I can be a little bit more. If it's not an enterprise-based solution that's been strictly safeguarded for your organization and it's considered a public solution, even though it says it's your paid account, just assume there's the potential that information could get out there. Okay, that's what I would say. That's what I would tell my kids if he's using this. Is be careful of what you put out there. And that's why we're having this conversation, is make sure that people understand how serious we've taken the safeguarding associated to this to keep it from, and we utilize the tool sets that AWS puts on top of it. Know that the open ones out there, they're not layering on the additional service levels that are applied to this. So, go ahead. I was just going to say the other thing on the interaction piece is if you haven't taken the AI Merit Badge or haven't seen the AI Merit Badge, we have some of that prompt engineering training built into that so that they can have, and the scouts can see that. All right, that was a quick
plug for the Merit Badge.
Quick plug.
Excellent. So at AWS, we work with obviously a lot of commercial companies, nonprofits, public sector, government, and from the beginning they've asked us, what does it mean to be responsible in your use of AI? So we came up with 8 dimensions of what responsible AI actually means to us. And I'm going to give away my next slide. They fit really well into the way that scouting is thinking about keeping their members safe, using the SAFE, the SAFE program. And I'll show you how they fit in the next slide. But I wanted to explain what these were just to get you familiar with the concepts. The first one is fairness. And fairness is making sure that the AI isn't performing in a way that biases one group of people or culture or part of the world over another. You want to make sure that any of your AI or machine learning models are trained with representative data and that they don't unfairly exclude or promote a certain group of people, right? Scouting is about equality, and fairness is in AI is critical to being able to use these tools for your scouts. Explainability is number 2. You want an AI system to be able to show you how it arrived at an answer. Now, these are extremely complex pieces of software and models. so explainability sometimes is difficult, but as much as you can, you want to create your AI systems to tell you where it got the underlying data, how sure it is of the response, and give you references to where it's pulling information from to create the final answer.
All right, Paul, this is where you throw a shoe
Yeah.
at me because I'm going to interrupt you.
It's okay.
Hallucinations. Is everybody familiar with the term hallucination? Do we all know how hallucinations happen? Okay. So in public AI solutions, they are built and coded in a way that they are mandated to give you an answer. Okay? Now, if the answers that you're looking for don't completely correlate, it's going to make something up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to make it up to the best of its ability. And that part where it creates the makeup is called the hallucination.
Yep.
And there's a terrible analogy that I'll use even so, is that's used quite often. It's about ice cream and drowning. I know that's a terrible thing, but if the data says that ice cream sales go up in summer and the data says that drownings happen more in summer, what AI could do is they could correlate and say, well, ice cream and drowning are connected to each other. Right? And now, obviously, as humans, we know that's not the case, right? Well, that's why it's so important when we build this in explainability within Paul, that we build the AI, we make sure that we put the right information in there to correlate appropriately, but we also build in the right hooks to say, if you don't know, say you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's where if you look at Scoutly, there'll be times it says, I don't know. I don't have that information yet. Whereas in a public environment, it could completely make that information up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's difficult to understand that sometimes. So, all right.
Yep. No, it's a great point. Thank you, Eric, for bringing that up. Moving on to privacy and security. Privacy is something that we just talked about a little bit in terms of safe data, where you want to make sure that data that the AI accesses, that somebody gave it permission, that someone made a decision to allow that data into the AI and had reasons for that. And security is about who is operating the AI, or what are the actions that the AI is doing on your behalf. Are they authorized to do that? Can it go out and buy an airline ticket for you? Well, in Scoutly, the answer is no. But if you're at a travel website, absolutely, you would like the AI to go buy an airplane ticket for you because that's what you came to do. So thinking about the privacy aspects of AI use, and as well as what it can and can't be allowed to do. Safety, we also talked a little bit about. You don't want this tool to be used to generate harmful content, to hurt others, or to do bad things, essentially, to put it a little simply. Controllability is maybe something that you haven't thought of, and you want to make sure that when you're using AI, that the models that you're using and the tools that you're using are subject to human controls, limitations, and guidelines. You don't want to just let a generic model go out and do its thing. You want to give it direction. You want to give it limits. You want to be very clear about where the line is, and don't cross that line. Veracity and robustness. Veracity is just, is it going to give you the right answer? Is it correct? Is it getting data from the right places? And if it isn't correct, does it say it's not correct, just as Eric explained? Governance is a little bit less about the AI tool, but more about who is managing your AI tools. So when you deploy something like Scoutly on scouting.org, governance is the aspect of AI use which says who built it, who monitors it, who is checking for what it's doing, who's looking at the interactions, who is allowed to see what Scoutly is doing, for example, who it's talking to. And then finally, transparency, very simple. If you are using AI to generate content, you should be open with the people that are consuming the content that it was at least generated or partially generated by AI. It's an ethical part of this framework to just be open about AI use and not hide it. Anything else to add before?
No, I think it's just, the one thing I'll add is, at a national level, we're working with going to do this, but I think it's important as they drill down into the councils and the unit levels, as the scouts, continue to put these thought processes into their heads.
Yeah.
Question them and ask them if they're using it. If they're working on merit badges with AI or they're doing other stuff, help monitor them,
Yeah.
and teach them on the best ways to use it.
Yeah, and all this applies not only to the tools that we're building specifically for scouting, but to ChatGPT, Copilot, any of the the add-ons that are in Microsoft tools as well. You want to be thinking about these 8 areas. And fortunately, as I kind of gave away, right, the SAFE framework really encapsulates these 8 areas very nicely, right? Supervision, you have two people watching. Supervision encompasses the controllability, so what you're making sure that the AI is doing what you tell it to do, and the safety and the governance aspects. The assessment, where you're looking at the tools and the skills to perform an activity, that maps really well to making sure that veracity, that your AI is giving you results that are true, and that it's fair and unbiased, right? Fitness and skill is the thing that you're doing the right thing for your members. Then explainability and transparency in those 8 fit under fitness and skill. And then equipment and environment are mapping very well to privacy and security, your infrastructure, and also safety. Are you watching what it's doing?
Does Scoutly have a limited database of things that it goes to, so that if a child asks an inappropriate question, it doesn't come back with the right answer?
Yep. For instance, we had a gentleman come by the booth, and he wanted to dive into, and he's part of the Jewish scouting organization, and he wanted to dive into information about synagogues and stuff like that. Scoutly doesn't have that because we've safeguarded all religious information out of it, because it was a decision that was made that religious conversations with the scouts that have within it probably aren't applicable on there. And so, but also the training mechanisms are growing within Scoutly every day. The great thing about AI is the more it's used, the smarter it gets. So the information that you had put into the safeguarded Scoutly environment is information that's helping it learn as well.
Yeah. And the big point there is some person made a decision to set those guardrails, right? It wasn't just something that we left out of the training.
Yeah,
it was intentional. Yeah.
Very specific reasons why.
Yep. I'm going to skip through this because of time. I want to give it back over to Eric.
All right, we'll talk about real quick about Scoutly, and we'll go through because it seems like some people are aware. Hey, he's cute, isn't he? You would not imagine how many different versions of this icon we went through, but I like this one. I've already talked about it. One cool thing is it's 24/7. So not only that scouts have access to it, but as we move forward with the capabilities, scout executives, national volunteers, unit level people, they'll all have access to whenever they want time to help with it. There is a goal to start moving as many of the merit badge assistants into Scoutly. I know you have merit badge volunteers that help with. We're not trying to take their, but what we understand is they're bandwidth constrained. There's more needs than resource available. So what Scoutly can do is help in that area. What Scoutly is designed to do is help answer questions about advancement, merit badges, registration. It's not meant to be search the open internet. Okay, so when you're working with scouts, let them know this is not wide open. Everything here is about scouting. It's meant to detect language that the family is using responding. So if that family within meetings is talking to English because that's the meeting as a whole, but if that family's first language is something else, when they're at home, Scoutly will detect that and help to talk in that language. It built them to not engage in content that has any toxicity to it. It will pull out of conversations or say that it can't about topics that obviously aren't applicable to youth or not safe from a youth perspective. Here's the good one. It'll hand off to humans when in question. So if somebody's going through a registration process and they get to the point where they have a question that Scoutly may or may not answer, it'll direct them to the person to talk to. All the councils are listed in there. You can find your troop if you want to register within Scoutly and pull up the contact information, and it'll point you to the right direction. Or it'll finish the registration process for you. It's your choice as a human which direction you go. And then as we've already talked about, it's going to log every interaction. so that we can look at edge cases, so we can improve it and also understand what needs to be done from a scouting perspective, like that disabilities form there. So what we put in as council members are meant to train, but we're not going to train off scouts or families' information they put in there. And that goes to the PII piece, and it's not meant to be there to make decisions. Scoutly is not a decision-making tool. It's an information tool that you as humans need to use to make decisions. Now, real quick before I go on with this is we are going to be introducing something called Scoutly Pro. And Scoutly Pro is going to be an internal AI resource. So internal within Scouting, the information stuff that you deal with all the time is going to start to flow through Scoutly so that you'll have immediate access if you want to use that to help you with it. So that's the next version, next frame of Scoutly as we go through it. Any questions on Scoutly? Scoutly is in its infancy, by the way. It's growing and it's going to build, and we're really excited about that. What councils should think about? I'll help you.
Yeah.
You want to go?
Yeah, we were talking about, okay, your councils are interested in AI. Your councils have ideas for maybe, hey, we can use this generative AI tool to generate content or generate our agendas. But how do you get started in a way to make sure that you are following SAFE and those eight principles that I explained earlier? We put together a five-step program. A lot of this is based on the way that Amazon builds our own products. So we always start, we use a system we call working backwards. We start with the end user or the scout's problem. Like, what are we trying to solve? Not, hey, how can we use ChatGPT? What is the pain point that we're actually trying to solve, right? What is frustrating your families and your volunteers? What is contributing to volunteer burnout, right? Then you understand the data and the resources that you need to accomplish your goal. Is this something that requires just unit level data? Do you need to go up to, or troop level data? Do you need to go up to the district? Do you need national level data to understand this? Do you need just a lightweight model that can give pretty simple and straightforward answers? Or do you need kind of the latest and greatest large language model from Amazon Bedrock, right? Once you've scoped out the problem and what you need to solve it, we have a phrase that we like to use called think big, start small, and scale fast. So you don't have to, boil the ocean. You don't have to eat the whole elephant. You start with one bite. You have an idea of what would be sort of the minimum viable product for your grand vision. Work on that, implement it, get it deployed, get people's feedback. Take then that feedback, iterate, next time add some more features. And that's something that lets you keep momentum. You don't get this paralysis because you think you have to take on an 18-month project. If you can get things started small, be unafraid to fail, and be open to feedback, you get a much quicker return on your investment in time. Absolutely apply all those dimensions that I mentioned earlier. Make sure you're aligning with the SAFE model. And then, as I said, iterate, but importantly too, measure. So make sure that you have clear acceptance criteria, clear success criteria that you can measure, and make sure that you're achieving your goals. Anything else to add?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah.
So I've already heard a really cool one, and I'd love to get a case study on what you did with that. I have not heard any other, I don't mean to be bragging about you, but I haven't heard any other that have gone that far in helping building out, utilizing some of the AI tools from the different leaders that I've talked to. So that would be pretty cool to utilize. Mm-hmm. And then, more ideas. Yes.
We specifically used it to build case studies last year. So our Council Key 3 rebuilt the Council Key 3 training offered at Philmont Training Center last year. And we decided we wanted to use a bunch of case studies. And we literally used AI to create case studies that we used in the training.
Really?
Excellent.
Yeah. And we just used some of the things we had saw. Our council's been through a lot of challenges. And a lot of councils have too. But we just dumped a bunch of stuff we've gone through and how we solved it in, and said, hey, create a case study, and then create a facilitator guide for this case study. And so in 45 minutes, we had about a dozen case studies.
That's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. What information were you using to
We were just
inform the case study, like build it off of?
The initial prompt was something along the lines of, we're leading a class to teach people, and we use AI a lot, so it has a lot of built-up knowledge about what a scout executive is in Key3, right? So it understands our organization structure. And so the initial prompt was something like, we need to create a handful of case studies that we can use with Council Key3s who are attending a week-long training, and it had already helped us build objectives in the week-long training, right? So this was this big, long project. And we just did a series of prompts after that to say, here's the situation. You're a council, the major charter partner of your organization has announced it's no longer going to use scouting as its youth development program. They charter 65% of your units, and it represents about 90% of your revenue. And it just like now create a facilitator guide to support that.
And you did that just for your council, right?
I mean, we use examples of our council's experience to create these case studies that we then used for other council Key3s to train on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
great.
thinking of how you could expand that by if you had a secure way to share your enrollment and volunteer information and your finances, right, and your fundraising and your donors, right, and then maybe use the model to start helping you find solutions.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you wanted to create a case study that was more specific, like something that you do in graduate school on a managerial accounting course, right?
Yeah.
You would want to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think for the purposes of what we were doing with training council Key3s about big strategic thinking, big problem solving, right? If we didn't need to have the specific quantified thing, right? But I think you could, and that might be where it's useful as you're training professional scouters, maybe to become middle managers or who are middle managers to become senior. You could use case studies that are very specific and very detailed. I mean, you could use fictitious data too, right?
Yeah.
But,
Sure.
Yeah, you'd want more quantifiable stuff for those type of use cases.
Yeah.
How about the interactions with parents and scouts? What kind of AI have you used for that?
Anybody use that? Yeah.
Anything?
I think I told you, parents.
I'm sorry?
The form I told you about.
Yeah, the form. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I thought about is, and I apologize, I don't have as much scouting background, but I have a lot of coaching background. And with players, the interaction with the player and the relationship with the player and the parents are different for every single one. And so what I have used some of the AI for in mine is help me understand how to better develop that relationship with there's certain situations and certain personalities and certain within it. So, you know, that's a piece that I think is important, especially when you start thinking about retention and the relationship building with keeping those scouting. I would think that piece would be important, that AI could help to develop that. The other thing that I think about with that is domain knowledge associated to it. And what I mean by that is, if I'm right, a unit leader has 4 years. Is that right? Ivo? Infinite years. What's the 4-year thing? You said something 4 years.
Also on the unit level, since it's parents, unit level usually rotates every 4 years.
Oh, they usually rotate every 4 years is what, and that may by case maybe from council perspective. But as different unit leaders, as different volunteers, as they rotate in and out, there's domain knowledge is lost. And we see that a lot from an employee standpoint when we lose employee information. So the utilization of AI within your council, within your units, can help create better domain knowledge as there's churn associated within the council.
Yep.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So you heard the CIO tell us that he was a scoutmaster and refused to do paperwork
Yes.
earlier.
He still refuses to do paperwork, by the way.
What is AI likely to help us with the unit leader in giving us the data that we need to be able to see what's going on in the unit?
Yeah, that's a great question. And unfortunately, it wasn't part of this presentation. But down at our booth, we had a demonstration of the data environment that we're building out. And that data environment, by bringing all the different systems that you all use into one data lake, is going to help give you information that you did not have at your fingertips in the past. That'll help you eliminate some of that paperwork. So whether it is trying to figure out the tenure of scouts within your organization, find out where the drop-offs are, find out where people are leaving in the registration process and maybe who they were so you can do reach outs for them. Help build out all the reporting on its own with a couple of fingertips there, and by just asking the prompt information. Giving you access to help build out any documentation you need to do, but based off scouting specific information instead of having to deploy it, even if it's out into the open world to utilize. So the things that we're doing to help reduce administrative tasks continue to grow. The big thing is around making data visibility to it. And what we've shown a lot of different people the last day and a half, and they've loved the fact that that data is going to be accessible to them, so they can manage their council or their unit to see, where they drop off, what's the tenure, what's the matriculation, what type of badges are they getting, where's the risk associated for them if they're not doing this. What are some of the other things?
Well,
membership retention.
Yeah, I was hearing the problem that the unit level has is that I need, your executive says I need this report, but not all the data is in one place. You have to go call up Shelly, who runs one system, and she has to export an Excel sheet. And then, Bob has the login to the membership database, and then somebody has to combine them all together. Not AI related specifically, but getting that access to the data is probably going to be the biggest.
Well, and the AI piece of that is, instead of having the access is one thing, being able to understand what the data is saying and how to get it to the right information you want. So within that, we're building out, utilizing the tools of Quick within AWS, is I can just ask it, tell me how many people dropped out of registration process, or give me the average tenure within my council from 2008 to now, and leave out LDS.
Yeah.
And it pops all that information up and gives you a nice pretty graph. It can even dive down into the geolocation so you can see exactly where you are potentially losing people from a geo perspective. All of those type of questions are available instead of you having to try to figure out how to get that information.
And you could even, you could even ask more open-ended questions, like, hey, I've noticed that attendance in this particular troop has gone down. Maybe you're going to those troop meetings and it seems like they're dwindling. Look through the attendance data, the demographic data, and come up with some suggestions on why that might be that we can follow up on. And the AI could then do things based on its knowledge of the data. So the business metadata that we've put on top of it in the data lake, and make inferences like, that troop is, most of the people are 15 miles away, and these other troops that aren't dwindling, everybody's within a 5-mile radius. So maybe that's something you could look into. So the AI can also help uncover some of these hidden connections within your data as well.
Did that answer your question? Because we can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
We probably need to better understand some of the paperwork that you have to deal with, and we could probably give you ideas of how it's going to work.
One of the examples that comes up is that we're tracking metrics in commissioner service, and one of the things is how often do they camp and where do they go?
Yeah.
And most units aren't plugging that data in. They don't see the value of it. And even if they did, they don't have time or think they should take the time. They know what they're doing. Why do they care?
Yeah.
But it doesn't help us unless we're able to be there, present, and plug it in ourselves.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's something that AI can support, just in their dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple different ways that we can do that. The challenge with all this is it's only as good as the data that's in there. And so, maybe it's a situation where we can build out models that after the camp out's been, it can be simple questions to just say who was there, who wasn't there, instead of them going through. And what we want to do is make it conversational so it's easier to get done. But that's a topic that I think we should bring up and figure out how we can, because its other thing is, how do you know who went to meetings or not? I mean,
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So I want.
I coming back
I
to you on
these
that.
things do apps as well, so you can create an app with this whole thing.
Yeah.
So my wife and I, when we travel together, we break down how many license plates we see. Okay. So I went through, and I'm going to relate this to Scott. So I went through Copilot, and I said, I want to design an app that will allow me to create different trips and collect all the license plates during that trip and compare how many I did from trip to trip. Okay, so if you think about that in Scouts, it would be, I want to know, I'm going to give you a list of all my Scouts, and you tell me how many Scouts attend the meetings. So this app came up, and it had all of the United States listed, all of the states listed, and I touched the states when we found the thing, and at the end, it gave me a score of how many states I had for that trip. So think about that. If you had your troop attendance data, you could say, these are my Scouts and these patrols, and at the meeting, the guy just touched his name. It says, I'm going to meet every Tuesday between September and June, and so the system knows to do that. So you say, all right, bring up June 1st, and has all the guys' names. They come into the meeting and they touch their picture or their name, and then so it calculates, or for each meeting, the attendance.
Yep.
And then
That's
so
one
then
thing to
you can
see.
match that data around. Again, that all should be in Scoutbook or whatever the current flavor of the data is, and it should be easier to collect. It's not that easy to collect.
Yeah.
But that's a great example of a place where you can, if you understand what AI and the modern data tools can do, being open to changing your processes to best leverage the AI, as opposed to coming in and saying, well, AI should be able to just count the people in the room if I take a picture or something, right? Which actually is not a bad idea now that I think about it, right? But the idea that you, with your app, you said, here's what I was doing before, but I don't have to do it this way. If there's a better way that allows me to do it faster or more accurately or more easily with AI, I'm willing to change. Yeah.
The key will be to find the value at the troop or the scouting level for that leader to want to do that.
So at
And
the
so
unit
we gotta-
level, if all that data went in the scout book, and as a commissioner, you had your troops, and you could go back through that data and say, how's my attendance for this troop? It would all be there so nice.
Yeah.
If only it worked that way.
But think outside the box in terms of that data collection, because obviously what you're saying is it's not working now necessarily.
But it's got to be easy on the unit level to collect the data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what makes
That-
it tough.
So yeah, please.
All right, so father of multiple scouts, eldest scout was scribe for 3 terms. He finally stepped down, A, because he felt somebody else should have a turn, and B, because he did print attendance sheets every night, taped them to the table, tracked who came to campouts, built it into an Excel spreadsheet, had statistics for...
That's a future data scientist right
Very
there.
cool.
Well, he's maybe going to college as a junior in high school. That's a
Okay.
longer story. Collected all the data, had it broken down by camping percentage, troop percentage overall, and then scored the scouts, because part of his thought process was, okay, we have kids coming up saying, hey, I want to be the quartermaster. Dude, you only showed up for 20% of the campouts last year. You want to be quartermaster? Seriously?
Yeah.
We might, and he provided it to the scoutmaster, the committee chair, and the advancement chair. Nothing happened.
Oh.
And so, again, I think somebody in the room said, scoutmasters are different people, don't see the value in collecting the data. That's probably problem number 1. Problem number 2 is it was an incredibly manual process because we don't have a tool. So printing the sheets was easy because you just add a column, hide the previous dates, print this selection, not in
I do
Excel.
it a month at a time.
Easy. Easy peasy, nice and easy. As we build out Scout Connect, probably there are two choices. Either A, we can have a manual function, which I think would not work, or if scouting's data privacy and integrity concerns were addressed, do we do something like we do for those of us in the geeky side of the world, where you walk into a building and it scans your face and it knows you're you, and it says, okay, you got to work 2 minutes early, or you're 15 minutes late,
Yeah.
and it lets you into AWS. And especially for Cub units, because for those who are also still involved in Cub Scouting, half a year more, at least. Trying to take attendance at Cub meeting with
Chaos.
kids come in 15 minutes in the flags are done, we're down, we've already done the opening activity, we've done flags, and little Bobby comes in from his soccer game late or whatever else it was, or mom's just running around, crazy lady with all her kids, or dad running in with all his kids. They show up late, they leave early. Something on iPad with Scout Connect where it says, okay, tonight is pack 543. It's our monthly meeting. Stand this by the door, and the Cub Scouts just know that for safeguarding youth and for attendance and everything else, they walk in, smile, and it goes, welcome, Bobby. And Bobby goes on.
I think that's a great idea. Just help us find another $30 million grant that we can do. But
but even if they could just
no.
push the button on the,
Yeah.
on the screen.
Yeah.
I'm joking, but I think that's an awesome.
Or that, but,
Yeah,
for the Cubbies, the facial recognition would be.
Yeah, it'd be cool for them.
But you have to do it now, and you have to go in under each scout book, and actually say that they were here.
Well, but the other thing
And
is
how many
we're
scoutmasters
supposed-
actually go do that?
Yeah, but we're also supposed to have current photos of your scout now in Scout Book.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So it would be real easy, and it would be a way to go, hey, this is safeguarding youth. This is knowing who's in the building, who's at the camp.
Can we layer on an SMS agent on top of Quick?
Yeah, sure.
I'm just thinking a quick message, an SMS out to parents to say, did you attend? Did your kid attend? And
Click here.
how was it?
You would get very little response.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
And if my kid wasn't there, I'd tell you he was. So you did.
Oh, really? Okay.
How are we doing on time?
All right, we're out of time, by the way.
But
But I appreciate the conversation. Yeah, I mean, I think those are all. And I think you've identified a big problem that there needs to be an answer for. And as I said, the data is only, the information is there. We just need to figure out how to collect it. And the answers to, when I sat there and I listened to Oscar talk about the numbers yesterday in the general session and the conversations that we've had with Mike, and we understand what's going on, the answers are in the data. We just have to figure out how to get the data together to understand what to do around the decision making.
And I would say too, as in scouting, you are in a lot of ways well positioned to know how to use AI effectively and ethically, right? It's just built into your DNA, right? You teach scouts the things that they need to know already. Like you only say what you know. You are authentic. You are honest, right? It protects what you're told. You support and you help people, and it behaves the same when no one's watching. You have integrity. So I think ethical AI is not a big leap for anybody in scouting. I think it's kind of there already.
It's important for the broader sense because AI has the potential to go a lot of different directions, but it also has the potential to be very, very good for us and how we do things. So, so thank you for sticking with us a long time. I know we were chatty. We think it's very important as we proceed further into helping to modernize and drive new technologies in. And we kind of think the new technologies that we introduce will also help scouts want to join and be a part of it.